Hi, I'm Jane McGonigal. I'm a game designer and a futurist, and I'm the author of the new book, Imaginable: How to See the Future Coming and Feel Ready for Anything, even things that seem impossible today. When people ask me why I wrote this book, I like to share with them a statistic from my research that blew my mind when I first calculated it. Since the start of the year 2020, there have been more than 2.5 million English language headlines and news stories with the word unimaginable in them. 2.5 million. And there have been more than 3 million news stories with the word unthinkable. We've all lived through these unimaginable and unthinkable events together, from the pandemic to extreme weather and climate change, strange new technologies, shocking political events, unprecedented protests, and new social movements. The fact that these two words are so commonplace in our stories tells us something important about our global condition. We are in a state of collective shock. We feel blindsided by reality. And it's not just that we didn't see this coming. There's grief baked into these words. We say unimaginable to mean heartbreaking. We say unthinkable to mean unacceptable, unjust, unforgivable. These words speak not just to collective shock, but also to collective trauma. So how can we feel at peace and secure and even excited about the future if we're constantly bracing ourselves for the next unimaginable event or unthinkable change? Do we really just have to learn how to live in a state of perpetual anxiety and future shock? I don't think so. I conduct research on what exactly happens in our brains and in our bodies when we try to imagine the future. And I create games that help us better predict and simulate hard to imagine futures. And I know from this research that we can move from a state of future anxiety and shock into something better, into a mindset that I call urgent optimism. Urgent optimism is a uniquely motivating and resilient mindset made up of 3 key psychological strengths: mental flexibility, realistic hope, and future power. Mental flexibility is the opposite of being stuck mentally. It's the ability to recognize that literally anything can become different in the future, even things that seem impossible to change today. Realistic hope is a balance of positive and shadow imagination. It's knowing which risks and threats it makes sense to worry about, but also which new solutions, new technologies and ideas and positive actions it makes sense to be excited and optimistic about. Future power is a feeling of control. It's the agency to actually shape how the future turns out by taking intentional action today. These are the 3 psychological strengths that make up urgent optimism. And what I want you to know about urgent optimism is that it is not a fixed personality trait. It changes often over our lifetimes, and most importantly, it is changeable. You can purposefully build more urgent optimism when you need it most. And that's what the book Imaginable is all about. It is full of proven habits, skills, and games that you can learn, practice, and play to measurably increase your urgent optimism. I know that it works because more than 50,000 students at Stanford University Continuing Studies, at the Institute for the Future, and online on Coursera have measurably increased their urgent optimism by taking imagination training with me. And the World Bank even conducted a randomized control study of the same games that you'll learn to play in this book. And they found that people who train their imagination with these games actually feel more optimistic that global challenges can be solved. They feel more confident that they can use their own voices and actions to make a better future. And people who played these games actually got better at important skills, like the ability to view familiar things in a new light, to propose original ideas, and to dream of creative ways to resolve conflict and problems. And that's why this book is called Imaginable. It's the direct opposite of unimaginable. Imagination training works, and we can use it to feel ready for anything and to build our urgent optimism for the future together.